fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going with the outside of both of them. Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up to
Oh my God! Big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no! That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God!
God, what?
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in indoor series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.
Welcome one and welcome all to SimSpeed TV once again. It is time for a brand new season of the Aussie Online Gaming Porsche Cup presented by Sam Blacklock Media. And we're certainly going for expansion here. Last season, Season 5, was quite the fantastic season, but short and sweet with only 6 rounds. This time, we got a whole bunch of rounds going across the whole year. It's going to be a giant championship with some of Australia's best sim racers competing for titles in Pro, Pro-Am and Am classes. And it starts here at Watkins, Glen. To bring it all to you live here on SimSpeed TV is myself, Reese Gardner, and Jay Kennedy. Alongside me in the commentary box and directing behind the scenes, Jay, what a season it was last year in the AOG Porsche Cup. Now we get to do it all again, and it is bigger and better for sure.
100%. It's going to be awesome for this season, a full 20-round calendar, which means that we're going to cover all different sorts of tracks all around the world. Schedule on screen, but there's some really cool ones we're looking forward to as well. No doubt the end of the season, the 3 Australian tracks is going to be very cool, but look at the complete contrast of tracks that we've got throughout as well. We've got Homestead Miami Road Course, Silverstone Spa for the Formula 1 style circuits. We've got the British circuits of Snetterton and Alton Park. Slipped in there's Barcelona, Sebring next week. So we do the full spectrum of different circuits throughout the world. One I'm really looking forward to is one that is so underutilized. Round number 15 at Zolder. I think that's going to be really cool in these cars.
Yeah, me too. I had a feeling you were going to mention that. Not only that, it's the alternate layout, which has the faster final chicane. That's certainly going to produce some drama in these cars, and Zolder, a very tight and twisty circuit with many chicanes. There's only one chicane here at Watkins Glen, though, and that is the inner loop, what we like to call the bus stop. This is what Watkins Glen looks like from the air. Very recently rescanned and reformatted, re-updated, rebooted for the iRacing service. It's a fantastic track, one of the most enduringly popular circuits on iRacing, and it is looking better than ever with its brand new surface, curbs, tarmac runoffs, what have you. But the base layout of the circuit has not changed at all. We'll still be seeing the same slipstream battles.
It is an amazing circuit, isn't it? It's such a staple of iRacing. Every series, regardless of what it is, whether it's the fastest cars or the slowest cars, come to this track because it is an incredible circuit. And racing in this car is going to be extremely fun. Looking forward to it. And it's going to be an interesting format as well tonight. We do the traditional format, which was so popular last season as well, with the 2 races, a 20-minute and a 35-minute race. Pit stop in race 2. Going to see pit stops around about between lap 5 and lap 15 because they will need fuel. They are fuel restricted. We've got a 30-minute qualifying session on now, which the drivers are out there trying to get themselves on the board. With a mixed qualifying format. Some of our Pro-Am guys out there with our Am drivers, and then the second half will go in the second half of qualifying.
Yes, and they'll be, excuse me, setting laps with the Pro Class drivers. Also, got a note that race 2 tonight has an inverted top 10, so that's certainly going to create some extra shuffling within the field. The first car we focus on for this season, Steve Black, E1 Sim Racing, one of the AM drivers here tonight. We've had 9 drivers setting times so far. Black 3.9 seconds off the pace, but certainly he'll be able to improve before the session ticks over. Hosey Racing's Steve Hosey competing in the Pro-Am class. And he's doing quite well at the moment, just going to provisional pole for the first part of this session. We'll have to wait and see what times the pro guys can do before we can draw any conclusions, but that's a pretty good lap to start things off from Hosey, 2 tenths ahead of Simon Mazzomo. And of course, Joshua Van Treek, one of the newer entries here competing in car 97. We've got a lot of the usual suspects from last season, Jay. Drivers like Cameron Dance, Ryan Jones, Simon Mazzomo, Grant Matterford, the reigning AM class champion. But we do have some new faces as well, which is great to see.
Yeah, really good to see a whole heap of different names and the names that we knew from last season. So really going to be interesting to see how many of these guys that are new to the series find themselves up the leaderboard, where they're going to slot in, and then the guys that we expect to be here, the best of the best that we've got in Australia and New Zealand out there on track as well. The newly signed to Red Bull Esports, Cooper Webster out there with the Altus Esports drivers of Bo Albert, Sam Blacklock. We've also got the likes of Corey Shepherd here too, Job Stewart, Blake Purdy, Cameron Dance. It's a very, very stacked top half of the field. But the format as well for this series does make it really competitive as well, and gives a chance to everyone, regardless of their ability, to have someone to race. 3 championships means that there's some incentive to continue out throughout the season as well, the whole way through.
Yeah, exactly right. We've got a whole host of different race formats that we'll be going for tonight, and the final round is scheduled to be a co-driver endurance race, which is certainly going to be interesting. Potentially going to Sandown for the final round. Of course, Winton Motor Raceway and Sandown Raceway were recently confirmed to be coming to the iRacing service this year. And of course, their inclusion in this championship is dependent on them being added before those rounds take place. So it's not 100% at the moment, but I am optimistic that we'll be able to get to race at Winton and Sandown towards the end of the season. As we ride on board here with Javin Wood, a little bit of oversteer on the exit of that corner. That's quite easy to do. The track levels out and the rear end goes light. One absence that is quite notable is the reigning champion of the series, Corey McFarlane. He drove car 94 last season, and it was quite a dominant run for him, finishing 892 points ahead of his nearest rival, but McFarlane has decided not to defend his title. So it's completely up for grabs.
Yeah, interesting decision to see that he's not out there this season. I'm a little surprised by that too. But lots and lots of racing on this year. So it is a pretty packed schedule. I mean, for us here at SimSpeed, we've got 13 broadcasts this week alone. So the fact that there's so much going on in the AusNZ Sim community is great. But it does make it very hard to make time for every single championship. But the guys that can commit to every championship have got a great opportunity to bag some good prizes, good trophies, and good championship points in each and every series that they're racing in.
Yeah, it's always good to have so much activity going on around the community. Simon Mazzomo was just having a couple of issues there on what I presume to be an outlap, but just beginning another hot lap now in car 551 for Drop Bear Motorsports, joining that team at the end of last year. taking his leave of TechSense Fitstyle Motorsports. Cameron Dance, the sole competitor for that team in this series as Griffiths brings it into the pits. Ryan Jones, friend of ours here at SimSpeed TV, commentates on quite a few of our broadcasts. He's scheduled to be on call for the entirety of the OSR Bathurst 12-hour this weekend, but he's getting his racing action in as well. He's been having a little bit of trouble getting the car set up for this round. We were talking to him before we went live, and he was having some issues trying to find a setup that worked for him. But we think that he's decided to go for the iRacing baseline, which offers a bit higher downforce package, so he might not be that quick on the straights, but keep a lookout for him in the boot as Van Treek starts a lap here. And demonstrating one of the things that's very different about this new scan of Watkins Glen on the exits of quite a few notable turns. There's tarmac runoff now and very wide curbs. You can go beyond the white lines and not get an off track.
Yeah, it's a huge change, isn't it? And I mean, we saw at the exit of turn 1, guys were pretty liberal with their use of track limits all the way out and onto the grass, but the fact that that's paved all the way, and they're through the second last corner as well, paved all the way to the gravel runoff now. As you said, being quite generous with the track limits, a lot of drivers now, so which is great in that it means that you can race hard, race a bit wider and make your car wider, but also means that guys don't have to be quite as careful. Pros and cons with this sort of widening of the track. We'll check back in with Mazoma because he is on a lap now.
Yeah, he is indeed, and negotiating the boot as we speak, just coming up to the heel, as it's called, the fourth last turn on this track. And that's one of the corners where you can go right into the tarmac runoff area, completely beyond the curb and not get an off track. I've seen many drivers do that, particularly when the Majors Series raced here a few weeks ago. Of course, we do have the next round of the Majors coming up on SimSpeed TV this Saturday, the Daytona 500. Make sure that you tune in for that. But Mazomo just coming up to the end of the lap now and negotiating the final turns nice and cleanly. Let's see if he can jump to provisional pole here. Looks to me like 47.4 his fastest lap, but that last one was a 52.6, so it looks like he had a couple of mistakes on the way there. Let's see if he goes any faster on this one.
Checkered flag's just been called too for this class, so this will be their last flying lap. 13 minutes for this group and then 13 minutes for the second. Means that they've got one last chance to try and get a lap in. Does add a bit of extra pressure when you're pushing as hard as you are in these sort of sessions. Just like that, there's a mistake from Mazomo.
Yeah, and it looks like he's abandoned that run. He pushed a little bit too hard into the inner loop. You can go all the way across the curbs there, but the grass is right there to wait for you and nab you an off track as Hosey, just clobbering the wall out of the final turn. Unfortunately, he's not going to be able to improve on his time, but he should be happy with his performance. Going fastest of all the cars that have competed in this session so far. Nicholas Gariich for Gariich Booth Motorsport. He's currently in 5th place, looking to try and improve, but it looks to me like he is done going for the pits now at the end of his qualifying run. And I believe there is a no escape rule active here, Jay, so the drivers do have to bring it into the pits once they've completed a lap. They can't just pull over to the side of the track and press escape.
Yeah, exactly right. A rule that was brought in as part of Scott's way back in 2014 that lots and lots of leagues have brought in as well. It's one of the more entertaining rules I find in sim racing. It's something that adds a little bit of realism, which is in some aspects very, very hard to do. As Kefford crosses the line for his flying lap.
I've just been corrected by Series Administrator Daniel Yeaman. The no escape rule is only active during race sessions in the AOG Porsche Cup, but it seems a lot of drivers are electing to return to the pits manually in qualifying as well, maybe to get some practice in for when they inevitably have to pit. Either way, that is how they stack up here in this first half of the qualifying session. It's Hosey from Mazomo, Van Treek, Brewer, and Gariich, your top 5. Gariich, the highest qualifying AM machine. Then we got Ryan Jones in 6th with Hanma, Boyle, Booth, and James rounding out the top 10.
Then we got Javian Wood, Zach Mitchell, Grant Matterford a little bit further down from where he would like. 13th in that first group, then Schultz, Griffiths, Kefford, and Steve Black, the last of our runners, as our pro class and some of our Pro-Am drivers get themselves out on track to start things off. Good news for Cameron Dance, who was having all sorts of tech issues up until about 3 minutes before qualifying started and was actually able to get on and get into the session. So good news for Dance, because he was looking like he might have been a non-starter, which sadly you were last night too, Reese, with the same issue as what Cam was having.
Yeah, well, not quite the same. What Cam and I were suffering is the sim loading to 90% and then getting a loading error. Unfortunately, Cam suffering those issues, and I was too initially when I was trying to get into Aussie Car. But then when qualifying started, I managed to get into the session, but my ISP had an outage when I just gone out to start my qualifying run. Very convenient. I was quite angry about that, but you move on. I might end up using it as a drop round. We'll see what happens. Either way, Cameron is in the session, and he'll be looking to go nice and fast here in the qualifying session. He hadn't put a time on the board in practice though, so we're not too sure of his outright pace, but it looks like a heck of a queue here coming up towards the end of the lap here. Cam, of course, lifting off to get some space between himself and the cars in front of him, because the last thing you want in these fast corners is to have a car with much slower pace than you blocking your line.
Yeah, exactly right. You don't want to have another car checking you up a little bit, especially if they have the smallest mistake can absolutely hurt and be so painful. You want to give yourself just enough room to be able to get the draft, but not too close that you end up compromising your lap. As Sebastian Flock, cool to see Seb back out there in his golfing uniform. Been picking on Seb all day about his golf shirt. But Seb joining us on Zoom once again. We've got 6 drivers on Zoom for tonight, so we'll be able to check in with a few throughout. Seb doing a very, very nice job in practice. His pace in practice was actually very, very good. So we'll see what he can do here in qualifying. He will be the fastest you would expect in this group for a second. Because right behind is the 994 car of Kobe Williams for Vendaval Sim Racing. So Kobe actually may have got a little bit too close to the back of Flock here, because this is just as we were talking about just then. You don't want to be too close to the car in front, because if they make a small error, you're going to get taken out by it as well.
Yeah, well, Kobe, yeah, there we go. Bit of oversteer. He would have been slightly distracted by Seb there in front of him. Won't be able to get a competitive time in to start things off. Kobe is one of those drivers that was that should have been right at the front last season, driving for Vendaval Sim Racing, but luck did not go his way 100% of the time. But Sebastian Flock is going to set the first time here of our Pro Division, coming out of the final corner and giving Kobe Williams a nice tow down the start-finish straight. 47.317 to start things off. And Matt Bowler immediately going to provisional pole. He's beaten by Corey Shepard and Bo Albert. The 06 Altus Esports Porsche now at the top of the standings. Dylan Burst flying Flamingos. His teammate competed in the first half of this session. Let's see what Dylan can do. 46.6. And that's pretty good for him. Straight to P2 overall. Sam Blacklock, Bo Albert's teammate at Altus Esports, coming up to the end of a lap now, but getting a little bit liberal with his usage of the grass there. He's probably gearing up for another one here.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he's gearing up for another lap. We'll see. We know that this time won't count, but most of the guys will probably run 2 laps. These tyres are fairly hard, so they will get 2 runs out of 1 set of tyres. Got another of our drivers here, Tyson Broad. And Tyson's joined on Zoom the last few weeks for FIA, for IndyCars, and cool to see him joining us again for Porsche.
Very much so. It's been good to see Tyson Broad's exploits. It looks like he's keeping good control of his OMR Esports Porsche coming through the boot section. He's giving a nice tow to two of the drivers behind. I think that might be Bailey Frid for Pursuit Sim Racing right behind him there in the purple machine. Let's see what Tyson can do in car number 27. He's currently 10th place in qualifying at the moment. 47.3 is the time to beat for him. And a little update on Kobe Williams as Broad negotiates the last couple of turns. Kobe unfortunately had quite a slide at the inner loop, and he's just done it again. He's having a lot of trouble getting a time on the board, but Broad seems has abandoned that one. Decided to let them all go as Bo Albert now begins another lap. Cooper Webster, meanwhile, as you said, Jay, recent signing to Red Bull Esports. He's just gone to provisional pole, the first driver into the 1-minute 45s.
Great lap there for Webster on his second lap. Alex John. This is a bit weird, seeing him in a very, very fast car. We're used to seeing him in skip barbers and things slow like that. It's cool to see him out there. Not quite the start to qualifying as he would have liked. But great to see different names out there giving this car a go.
Yeah, exactly right. Always good to see. Matt Bowler here in car 12, another one of the drivers we have on Zoom, accompanied by his biggest fan. Let's see whether he can get a proper time in, because that is nowhere close to where he needs to be. 56.7. Now, it looks like it didn't even count. So this is going to be the start of a hot lap here for Matt Bowler, part of the pursuit squad. And Hayden Feld getting very leery over the curbs in the penultimate corner. Awesome to see these drivers pushing so hard here.
Interesting to see that last time we saw Veld out on track in a SimSpeed broadcast as part of the United SimSports crew, who have unofficially become part of Synergy Sim Racing. Says some breaking news for you, Race. You may not have heard that news, but the whole of the United Sim Racing group is now part of Synergy Sim Racing.
Well, that's cool to see. Synergy, of course, one of the veteran squads of the AusNZ sim racing community, and they will only be made stronger by the addition of the United Esports guys. So now we wait for these next couple of laps to be set. We've only got 7 minutes 20 seconds left in the qualifying session. Corey Shepherd for Premier Racing Team. We have usually seen him in V8 Scops broadcasts driving his Mr. Antenna Mustang, but he's in a green and white Porsche for this one. 5th at the moment, and looking to improve as he begins another hot lap. He's got Cooper Webster up there just ahead of him in the Red Bull Esports Porsche.
See how it goes on this lap. Just close enough to get a little bit of draft from Webster, but probably about the perfect distance, isn't it? Enough to get draft, but also enough that you can get out of the way if something happens ahead. This is about the gap that I would be looking for in a session. Unless I'm extremely slow in comparison to the guy I'm following, then I would be a little bit closer. But when you're evenly matched, it's about the gap you want. Very, very nice start to the lap for Shepherd.
That little puff of gravel you just saw was the final traces of Kobe Williams, who is still having trouble getting a time he's happy with on the board. He has set a time, 1:47.1. Only good enough for 8th though, so he'll be hoping to start knocking on the door of the top 5, maybe the top 3. This is looking like a lovely smooth lap from Corey Shepherd. I'm not seeing any wayward behaviour from the car at all, and if anything, it looks like he's starting to catch up to Webster.
I was about to say the exact same thing. He looks like he's actually closing that gap on Webster, so if Webster's pace is even remotely close to what he did on that previous flying lap, this should be a very, very good moving up the field for Corey Shepherd. Best lap of 46.6. Needs to find 2/10, but if he does find 2/10, he's going to not jump 1, but he'll jump 2 because of how close Job Stewart and Dylan Burse are in regards to times. We'll see what it is. 1 corner to go.
And out of the final corner he comes, just kissing the wall on the exit. Is this going to be a 1:45? Looks like a low 46, mid 46 there for Corey Shepherd. It is an improvement, but he's not able to jump Stewart and Burse. He's now within half a tenth of those two.
He doesn't have to find too much. And that lap just then from Webster wasn't an improvement for him. He actually did a 46.6, so that was his worst flying lap that he's done out of the lot so far. So Cooper Webster will be looking for something. He now with his new team. Of course, he'll be running in the Porsche Esports Super Cup starting this coming weekend. It's cool to have back once again.
Indeed it is. They'll be driving the exact same cars you see here. The Porsche 992 Cup car. And it's been a very popular addition to the iRacing service from the moment it jumped on board a few months back. The drivers have been working hard to try and find every little bit of the car they can change, every little trick they can use to get more pace out of it. Albert still looking for more time here. Bo, of course, with the double cam on Zoom, we can see how his footwork stacks up. And, of course, these cars, they use an electronic paddle shift gearbox. No clutch required in these things. You're basically driving it like a single-seater.
It's a pretty big evolution, this car, from the previous generation, isn't it? I mean, you look at the car on paper, it doesn't seem like it's too much, but the way the car behaves, the way the car drives, the way the car handles is so different to the previous gen. And as you said, the difference around that, very, very big. The way the car handles as well has been a huge change for a lot of drivers, and drivers are not getting comfortable with the change in car, considering there's not a huge evolution, as I said, on paper between the old and the new. As Dylan Burse leaves some 11s behind. That's not the fast way, but it's a spectacular way.
Looks very nice, and he was keeping the sway of the rear under control too. Of course, this car being a Porsche 911, rear engine, rear wheel drive. The engine is right over the rear axle, even hanging out a little past it. Of course, it has been moved forward by increments in recent years, but still very much a rear engine machine, and it requires its own driving style to really get the best out of it. The front end is incredibly light, and you've got to try and get as much load on it as possible coming into the corners under braking. But of course, once you start getting a little bit of oversteer, looks like that was Tyson Broad coming into some issues in the third last corner. Once this thing starts sliding, it's very hard to recover. All of that mass over the rear basically makes the car turn into a pendulum.
100%. You've got to get used to the weird, unusual engine placement. It does make the car handle very, very differently, as you said. That rear definitely doesn't drive like many other cars out there. That is Alex John, 21st at the moment, so he'll be looking for some improvement. We've got a Blake Purdy, following his teammate there of Bailey Frid. Time didn't count there.
That's unfortunate, but they will have another opportunity here, of course. They only have a minute 40 or so left in the session, and considering laps, about a minute 45, minute 46 up at the top, those two pursuit cars should still be able to get another time on the board. They will probably cross the line with about 5 seconds to go, but Job Stewart, it seems that's going to be his session done. Job, a big challenger last season to Corey McFarlane, had the championship lead on a few occasions, but it looks like he's going to have to settle for third at best in this session. Purdy, meanwhile, on his lap, it looks like Bailey Frid has given him the draft and let him go down the back stretch. He's now all on his own. It all comes down to Blake's own inputs here towards the end of the lap. We'll have to wait and see whether or not he can improve on 6th.
You're remembering too that there is a hard cut for qualifying in this being a heat formatted event. So when the clock hits 0, qualifying is over, so no extra laps. That's why we're seeing everyone's already starting to pull into the pits. They've realised there's no more running for most of the field. There's only 3 cars out on track. Alex John, he doesn't look like he'll improve on this lap. Actually, he may improve. Does. I'll take that back.
Good
Doesn't
stuff
gain
there.
any spots, though.
Well, it's still an improvement there for Alex John, but it does look like Blake Purdy will be able to cross the line in time here. Will he be able to improve on 6th place? 1 minute 46.6 is the time to beat, and unfortunately he's not been able to get it done. He misses out by 0.03 of a second on improving his time. That's a big shame there, but that is going to be everyone done in terms of qualifying. And this is how they are going to line up. The top 9, all our pro class. It's going to be Cooper Webster and Bo Albert starting off the first row here. Job Stewart, Dylan Burse, Corey Shepherd rounding out the top 5. It's Blake Purdy, Bowler, Frid and Flock. Top 9, Sam Muir, our top Pro-Am car there in 10th.
We go over the page next. Lots of mix-up here. Kobe Williams, he'll be disappointed with 11th alongside Cam Dance, who didn't get to do any practice. Not a bad result from where he was. Hayden Veld will be second in our Pro-Am class with Steve Hosey. Tyson Broad and Simon Mazzomo. Sam Blacklock also not able to get practice in. He's a little bit further back. We'll start 17th overall with Joshua Van Trick. We've got Jacob Brewer. And then starting from the front of our M class is Nicholas Garrioch.
Great job from him. Alex John is going to start in 21st alongside Ryan Jones, and then it's Tyson Hanmer and Lachlan Boyle on the 12th row of the grid. It's a whole sea of AM cars here with Kyle Booth, Liam James, Javin Wood and Zach Mitchell running at the top 28. 29th and 30th will be Grant Matterford and Jay Schultz. Matterford, of course, being promoted up to the Pro-Am class after winning the AM title last season. And those final 3 spots on the grid, Griffiths, Kefford and Steve Black. Yeaman and Wilkinson are our race control in the McLaren 570S GT4. If there's a big enough incident out on track, they will bring those cars out on the track. We've got manual safety cars here in the AOG Porsche Cup.
Sam Blacklock's just sent me a message as well, confirming why he was so bad in qualifying. He's been at work since 5 a.m, so he has not long got home after a 13-hour workday and straight into the sim, so why not?
Yeah, of course. Well, hopefully this race provides enough excitement for him to stay awake. The grid timer has ticked down, though, and it is going to be crunch time. Time to put on the focus. Cooper Webster versus Bo Albert up at the front of the field. The revs rise, and Season 6 of the AOG Porsche Cup is go. It's a good start from our top 2. Not the best of starts from Job Stewart. He kind of bogged down, but he's not going to get swallowed up by the field, though Dylan Burse is going to draw alongside him into turn 1 as the field streams on in to this banked corner to start the first lap. It's not the greatest of exits from Bailey Frid, but it looks like he might be able to keep everyone behind him there in the purple pursuit car. Bo Albert right on the back of Cooper Webster now for the lead as they come onto the back straight for the first time.
Love the fighting that these guys always have down the back straight on the first lap here at Watkins Glen. Such a cool track, so fast, so intense. Love the movement over the curbs. There's a few guys already starting to make some moves through this field. Some big movers already. Kobe Williams already up a couple of spots.
Yeah, good stuff there from Kobe. He's now up to 9th place and looking to try and round up something further. Corey Shepherd is the car in front of him that we take a look at, and he's involved in quite the battle of his own with Matt Bowler and Bailey Frid just up ahead of him. They're in the boot now, and these places on the circuit will provide the best in terms of passing opportunities. There was an attempt there, I think, from Blake Purdy on Dylan Burse, but didn't work out for him.
Remember, Shepherd started this race in 4th. He's now back in position number 8, so he's lost out big time at the start of this race. Kobe Williams, all of that moving we said he'd done at the start, well, he's just lost the spots he'd already gained.
That's a shame. No anti-lock brakes on this car, so you have a slight lock-up. All you're going to do is stream on through, and he's back down to the position he started in there in 11th place. Well, it's the end of lap 1 now, and it didn't take long there for a crash to happen. That is quite big there. Who is that? That is Steve Black, who's come a cropper in the back half of the field, and it looks to me like that was self-inflicted as we go to a replay thanks to our friends at Virtual Racing School.
You remember, as we were saying, no escape rule in effect, so if you do crash out, you have to stay where you are, and then we can see the potential for a safety car, but there's a little bit of smoke ahead, so I'm wondering if he's sort of inter-team contact there as well with Liam James making contact. Wondering if he just freaked out a little bit from that smoke, from that little, very, very minor incident just ahead. But, he gets back going again, which is good to see. We continue on at the front. Webster, Albert, Stewart breaking away from the rest. Dylan Burse under a lot of pressure from Blake Purdy, and then Bailey Frid leading off this next train with Bowler, Shepherd, Flock, Dance, and Kobe Williams right at the back of that.
Good racing here to start things off. This is only a
Williams
20-minute
again.
race. Oh my goodness, Kobe. Got to be very careful. Unfortunately, that is a proper spin for him. Does manage to stay out of everyone's way though, so nobody else having an incident from that. Just looks to me like Williams got a bit of oversteer on in the middle of the corner and could not save it. Well, the rest of the drivers not having as much of an issue here. Looks like Cameron Dance starting to really pressure the back of Sebastian Flock, but that pack behind them, headed up by Sam Muir, it is a proper 6-car train. He's got Tyson Broad, Hayden Veld, Simon Mazzomo, Steve Hosey, and Sam Blacklock all in a line behind him. So we'll keep an eye on that battle for the time being, but we focus back to the lead ever so briefly. Cooper Webster still holding on to that lead from Bo Albert and is already starting to set very fast laps. 46.7, the fastest lap so far. Looks to me like Dylan Burse is now starting to join this front train.
He's broken away very quickly from Blake Purdy, hasn't he? One corner, basically, he's gone from being the defender to the aggressor.
Yeah, I'm just going to head back and check to see if anything happened to Purdy. It doesn't look like it. It just looks like in the second half of the last lap, he just fell off the pace. Maybe he was having some consistency issues. Oh, Mazzomo having to go wide here to allow the 53 of Hayden Veld by him, and it looks like Steve Hosey might try to have a go at him here around the outside as well. But Mazzomo defends it very well coming into the ankle of the boot, but Hosey leaving the door slightly open here to Sam Blacklock, who's trying his best to make up positions. Looks like he might just be able to do it. No, Sam Blacklock, he's overshot it, but he does manage to keep it on the racetrack.
Just content sitting, watching and waiting, isn't he? He's just happy watching what's going on ahead because it is very intense, this battle in this group of 5 or 6 just ahead. Saying that, doesn't look too happy as well at the same time. It's maybe thinking he's getting a little bit too held up.
Perhaps. Remember, he is dealing with a bit of fatigue as well, so we'll have to consider
Ryan
that.
Jones.
Oh, yeah, big oversteer there from Ryan. I did mention he was having some issues with the setup at the start of the night, and he's fallen back into the clutches now of our pole sitter, Nicholas Garriich. Got Alex John and Tyson Hanmer right behind him as well, and trying to break the draft down the front stretch there was Nicholas, but not able to. Oh, that was a big lockup. Big lockup there from Alex John. That's going to allow Hanmer up the inside of him coming into the S's, and this is a very difficult part of the racetrack to run side by side, and you just find out why there. Hanmer, that's created a 4-car pile-up that's involved Lachlan Boyle and Kyle Booth as well, and this is very dangerous. Oh, goodness. Drivers are going to have to stick all the way to the right here and make sure they don't run side by side as Booth tries to get back going. And that was all started with side-by-side contact. Well, not quite side-by-side, maybe more rear quarter. Have a look at this.
It's one of those situations where coming up the rise, there's where to go. I'll tell you what, the 83 car there of Lachlan Boyle went in there very aggressive, but I don't know how much more he could have done there because it's a tough situation to get out of the way and not get yourself involved in that sort of crash. But the good news is everyone has got away, which means that we stay green. Go back to the front because Bo Albert has dropped a little and now he's turned for Job Stewart contact. Wow.
Oh, the drama is already starting here, and Albert is going to have to waste no time getting going. He will undoubtedly be quite cheesed off with that. As it's side by side, just up ahead of him. That is Simon Mazzomo and Steve Hosey, and the incidents are continuing. Sam Blacklock going into that incident. That's resulted in Hosey and Mazzomo both going into the wall at the final turn. It's all kicking off here on lap 4.
What a crazy segment of 2 minutes. The contact up the hill, the contact into the... What section of your foot is that? What section of the boot is that? The bit that you pull on the back?
Yeah.
the bit
heel.
at the back? Yep. Just the tiniest little contact there. It wasn't much in it, but there was enough. And then you see Mazzomo and Hosey here side by side. Yellow flags would be out at this point too. So I'm thinking Mizomo may have been out of the throttle a little bit, thinking, oh, something's going on here. And then this little bit of running here, nothing too much there. And Blacklock says, well, there's a big hole there. I'm going for it. He had the pace, he had the momentum. The hole suddenly disappeared. And good news is everyone still continues on.
Yeah, I think Mizomo was well within his rights, though, to try and get back on the track as soon as possible. He is carrying some pretty heavy damage, though. That is Kobe Williams going by him there, also carrying damage from incidents sustained earlier on. And Bo Albert all the way back in 27th now. That is a huge loss there for the Altus Esports driver. But go back up to the battle for 5th. It is Bowler, Fridge, Shepherd, and Flock here, all fighting for that last position in the top 5, and Cameron Dance right on the back of them as well. Proper 5-car train here.
Awesome little battle these guys have got going on. And it all means something here too, doesn't it? The top 5 at 5th and a 6th doesn't sound like it's too much difference, but psychologically it's a huge difference in those positions. And as you said too, inversion of the top 10. So the guy at the back of this group, not necessarily in the worst spot, but in the middle. You don't want to be the middle of this group. I think you either want to be at the front or at the back of this 5-car train.
Yeah, quite difficult to try and negotiate the track when you've got cars in front of you you're trying to pass and cars behind that you're trying to defend from. Look at this. It's a double draft here. Bailey Frid's going to go up the inside of Matt Bowler, who lifts out of the throttle early to let him go. Oh, and a slight bit of contact there. Corey Shepherd getting into the back of him. But that has allowed Bailey Frid to break away ever so slightly from this battle. Shepherd's going to have to wait a few corners more here to have a go at Matt.
Just an update in regards to that incident with Mizomo and Hosey as well. Mizomo actually picked up a meatball flag and had to come into the pits, get his spare car and go again. So he's lost a bit of ground. Also looks like Steve Hosey has done the same thing as well. So both of those guys off and into the pits very, very quickly. Race control being kept very, very busy despite this small field comparatively to what we've had in previous seasons, providing even more action than we've seen before.
Oh, and Sebastian Flock having a go at Cameron Dance. It has provided a lot of action here in the opening round, but I think that is to be expected. You know, it's the first round of a new season. The drivers have spent some time out of the saddle, relatively speaking, and a couple of new faces to contend with as well. You're always going to have a few teething issues in round 1 when it comes to the cleanliness of the racing. Looks like Bowler didn't get quite as good an exit as Corey Shepherd did. Might line up a move here at turn 1 as they come round to start lap 7. Is it going to be an outbreaking manoeuvre here for Shepherd? It is indeed. He is ahead, and Cameron Dance going a little bit too deep. That was an ever so slight lock-up for him. He runs wide. That's going to allow Sebastian Flock up the inside. The last time cars were side-by-side up through the S's, it ended in tears, but it looks like these guys are giving each other a bit more space this time round.
Oh, I just said a
Flock
bit
not
because it
giving much
wasn't
space
much
to the wall, though.
That was close to that wall there as Shepherd now defending from Bowler down the back straight. Come into the braking zone for the inner loop. I'll tell you what, that's ambitious from Bowler to hold it around the outside. He might get it to work because Shepherd, so aggressive over the grass, he could have a slowdown penalty here.
Yeah, potentially. Cameron Dance is going to have to stick to the outside. Looks like Corey Shepherd might have escaped with no slowdown, but he is going to face a huge amount of pressure from Cameron Dance. Those tyres would have been slightly dirty for Corey Shepherd, losing an infinitesimal amount of grip, but it's those small things that make the big difference when you're racing as hard as these guys are.
Only 8 minutes left on the clock as well, so by the looks of things, there'll be 5 more laps after this lap completes. Isn't much racing. Tell you who's taken advantage of the battling going on in this group is Bailey Frid. He's broken away. He's got a second on this group now, and this group of 5 has suddenly become a group of 4. They need to be careful because Sam Muir, who is the leader of our Pro-Am class, see him just in the background there. He's starting to close in on these guys and bringing that secondary group along with him.
Yeah, he took 8/10 out of Sebastian Flock and Cameron Dance on the last lap, so it's been a great run from Sam Muir. He'll be hoping that these guys continue their battling And it doesn't look like there's going to be any moves into turn 1 this time round in that group, but Cameron Dance going so deep into turn 1, making up time on Corey Shepherd. Here we go then. Once they come out of the S's, that's going to be crunch time. We'll see if there's any big moves coming into the bus stop chicane. It looks like Shepherd's got a good run on Matt Bowler here. Let's see if Bowler goes defensive. He doesn't. He leaves the door open for Shepherd to go up the inside, but will he let him go? How deep are they going to go? Looks like Shepherd going nice and deep, but Bowler conceding that position. It's going to be another place lost there for Matthew. And Cameron Dance right on the rear of him, looking to take advantage.
Good little sequence of driving there. We saw the previous lap Bowler held it tight, held it on that outside line, but did give it up this time. Wasn't going to fight that position. Probably thinks that there's better times and places to fight, especially when they are losing ground to Bailey Frid ahead. I think if they had have battled side by side there, they may not have caught back up to Bailey Frid. The fact that they didn't fight and Bowler let Shepherd through into the inner loop there meant that they're back in the draft. That gap, this point, previous lap, 1.1 seconds, now only 0.6.
It's amazing how much of the runoff area they can use as Bowler tries back up the inside of Corey Shepherd. And he might just get that done. They'll be side by side coming into the penultimate corner. That's not going to work out too well for either of them. It's giving a big advantage here to Cameron Dance. But no way for the Kiwi to get through. Bowler, just like that, has allowed Bailey Frid to skip away once again, and it's a poor exit for Shepherd. This could be Cameron Dance going around the outside of him into turn 1. We've seen how deep he's gone under braking, but not this time. He allows Corey Shepherd to take the corner ahead of him. He's probably going to line up a move coming out of the S's. Bo Albert, meanwhile, has been making up bulk positions. He's now into 20th place, trying to line up a move on Grant Matterford, but we'll keep our eyes trained on this fight because Cameron Dance looking for 7th place here. Shepherd goes defensive. That gives Cam a big draft from Matt Bowler. Will he be ahead when they get to the chicane? No. Shepherd will have the inside line for the entry and maintain the position.
Bit of driving, but look at the advantage just from that tiny bit of fighting. Bowler's pulled a second, or thereabouts, and Frid's pulled a second as well. So that minor bit of battling that these guys are doing doesn't take much, but as soon as they start to go side by side, the chance of getting the draft of the guy ahead almost instantly goes. Now they're lucky in the fact that Bowler didn't have a great exit coming through the chute down into the boot, and now the draft is back on again. Just want to draw our attention away from that though, because Job Stewart is doing an awesome job, literally just doing enough to hold off Dylan Burse.
Yeah, I've been checking in with them every so often. Dylan Burse has been a thorn in Job Stewart's side here. Cooper Webster is not involved with this at all. He's about 2.7 seconds ahead of everyone else as things stand. There he goes to start the 10th lap of the race. But Job and Dylan, they have been at each other's throats all race here. Promoted into the battle for 2nd and 3rd when Stewart unfortunately tapped Bo Albert around earlier. Not the best exit from turn 1 for Dylan Burse, but he will have the draft here on Job Stewart to try and stay in the fight.
He hasn't quite been close enough up the hill to actually get a move done, has he? He's been there, but not quite close enough. Very, very close, but not quite close enough to get the move done. So we'll see if he can get that move done eventually, but at the moment it doesn't look like he's able to get anything happening in that aspect. Back in the field a little bit, just seeing there Tyson Broad giving up a spot to Sam Blacklock, who's been a bit of a quiet achiever in this one. Now up into 11th position. This battle of 4 continues on. Bailey Frid pretty much would feel safe at this point. He's now 1.2 seconds up the road, but these 4, there hasn't been much separating this entire 4-car pack for this race full stop, let alone over the last 5 or 6 minutes.
And Cameron Dance trying around the outside of Corey Shepherd. That is possible at that corner, but you have to be very confident in picking up the throttle And oh, Shepherd going majorly defensive. The biggest defender in this group has been Matthew Bowler. He's keeping these 3 guys behind him and doing a great job at it. He's just been placing his car right every single time. Cameron, though, he's going to have the inside. Oh, and Shepherd runs wide in the corner. That's going to allow Dance through potentially. Shepherd gets on the throttle nice and early to maintain the momentum. And oh, he's not quite able to hold on to the outside line there. So let's see what Sebastian Flock can do to try and gain any positions here. Shepherd might be a little bit flustered after that particular lap. I noticed in the inner loop, Bowler, he didn't quite get into the corner as fast as earlier, so it resulted in a bit of contact between himself and Shepherd. But they've kept it clean for the time being. Meanwhile, Hayden Veld there right on the back of Tyson Broad. But there's battling going on all throughout the field here. It's just fantastic to see. So Bowler has the advantage now over these guys. And oh, Cameron Dance, he leaves a car width open there for Shepherd on the inside. But it doesn't look like Corey's going to be far up enough to make the move. And Dance dives on in. Sebastian Flock had to check up a little as well.
A little bit cheeky there from Dance, wasn't it? It was sort of half a width or half a car width there to go for Shepherd. Shepherd decided the half a car width was enough and took to the grass. Now, there's 2 penalties coming in. I can't quite read all of the information that's come from Race Control Reese, so you might have to do this.
Yeah, and this is going to be significant for the battle for second. Job Stewart, for his contact with Bo Albert, has been given a 10-second post-race penalty. Oh, take it easy, Dylan Burse. It looks like, though, if he just maintains that gap, he's pretty much guaranteed second at this stage because Job is going to be placed behind him at the end of this race. There's also been a 10-second post-race penalty applied to Alex John for the contact up the hill with Tyson Hanmer, and no further action on the contact between Steve Hosey, Sam Blacklock, and Simon Mazzoma before. But look at this, side by side with Tyson Broad and
Hayden Veld.
That looks like Hayden Veld, and he's been hit wide. That looked like a little bit of ghost contact there. Veld right into the wall, and that's a very heavy hit, but to the side of the car, so not too sure if that's going to be race ending. Nevertheless, white flag for all of these drivers. It's their last chance to try and make some moves.
Going to be a very, very intense pack, this one. Interesting, too, that last lap by, Matt Bowler gained around about 3.5 tenths of a second over Bailey Frid. Frid is less than a second ahead and may be able to get the draft. He actually is getting some drafters, so he is Corey Shepherd, but just can't take advantage of it because Dance perfectly positions the car. Corey Shepherd can't do anything about it.
That's cost him some time there, and that will be Sebastian Flock ready to pounce at a moment's notice. Goodness me, another position further back in the field for Bo Albert. He's now up to 17th. He's just past Javin Wood, and he might get Hayden Veld before the end of this as well if Veld is damaged enough from that side-by-side contact with Tyson Broad. Doesn't look like Bo will be able to line him up, though. Either way, far away from all of that drama is Red Bull Esports' Cooper Webster. What a fantastic drive it has been from him, starting from pole and leading every lap. He's going to be starting 10th for race 2, but still, that will take nothing away from what has been a magnificent drive. First blood is going to go to Cooper Webster in the Aussie Online Gaming Porsche Cup.
Job Stewart will cross the line in second, but we'll have to work out where it will put him after the 10-second time penalty. It looks like it'll be around about 5th or 6th, so he'll actually get positioned right in the middle of this group with his 10-second time penalty. Bailey Frid holds on for 5th, Bowler 6th, Dance 7th, Shepherd in 8th, and Seb Flock in 9th. That was a great battle from those 5 guys, especially with how clean it was as well.
Yeah, it certainly got a little bit leery here and there, but oh, it might be one more position here for Bo Albert as Hayden Veld goes for a spin and enters pit lane in reverse. Oh, man.
Well, that's some nasty crabbing.
Yeah, that's a horrible end to the race for Hayden Veld. He is going to cross the line in pit lane, though, so out of the way of everyone else. That's a big shame for him. It looks like it's going to be 22nd place. And just to
Fingers
note...
crossed. sorry, Reese, to cut you off there. Fingers crossed Hayden Veld doesn't have an unsafe pit entry penalty there from that too, because if he does, he'll have a 40-second time penalty added to his result, which will then put him way back in the field even further.
Yeah, that would be a huge shame for him, but race controllers ruled no further action for that contact between Veld and Broad. So here are the results from race 1 then. By 4.1 seconds, it is Cooper Webster from Job Stewart who crosses the line in second, but he's going to be demoted to 4th place, which should result in a 6th place start for race 2. It's Blake Purdy who crosses the line in 4th, Bailey Frid winning that battle for the top 5 as Bowler, Dance, Shepherd and Flock got a bit caught up in each other, and Sam Blacklock with an excellent run up through the field, 17th to 10th.
Add 10 seconds to Stewart's time puts him in 4th in the end, so those guys battling behind as much as they were helped Job Stewart out in keeping his spot. Sam Muir, the lead car in Pro-Am, with the podium in that class being Broad and Jones as well. Garrioch wins the AM class, finishes 14th overall. We got Kobe Williams, who had a couple of spins. Bo Albert with that unfortunate contact will finish in 16th position. Javian Wood, Joshua Van Treek, Jay Schultz and Grant Matterford rounding out the top 20.
21st place was Jacob Brewer, losing 2 positions unfortunately. Hayden Veld still classified 22nd, so it seems he didn't get that unsafe pit entry penalty. Steve Hosey, 23rd. Zach Mitchell making up 4 positions to finish in 24th place. Steve Griffiths makes it 25th from 31st. Liam James, well, it was all up a nothing race for him despite all the action. He finishes where he started. And then we get into big issue territory. Mazomo, Kefford, Boyle, Black, Hanma and John rounding out our field, with Kyle Booth classified a lap down. Of course, Kyle was involved in that pile up on the exit of the S's. Well, we are in the warm-up session now for race 2, and that'll be a good opportunity for us here at SimSpeed TV to step aside ever so briefly. You are watching the Aussie Online Gaming Porsche Cup, presented by Sam Blacklock Media, round 1 from Watkins, Glen. You're watching the Aussie Online Gaming Porsche Cup presented by Sam Blacklock Media. 6th season, first round, and what a race it was to start off the night and the season here at Watkins, Glen. We get to go again. I'm Reese Gardner and Jay Kennedy alongside me in the comms box. Well, Jay, let's refresh ourselves for the format. We've got 35 minutes of racing coming up for race 2 with a pit stop required, 41% fuel tank restriction, which should give the drivers 15 laps.
Yeah, there's no way that you can save enough fuel with this format to get it home to the end, so we will see a pit stop somewhere between lap 5 and 15, as we said. 41% fuel tank, I think it's 47 litres in the tank, so they have to pit for around about 15 litres or so. Take that, you can bring it home from there. But yeah, not much fuel needed at the stop, so legitimate splash and dash, and away we go. 5 laps of fuel needed at the stop, which is literally nothing. We don't have to go through too many in this grid, though, because we've only reversed the top 10 from the results in race 1.
We have indeed, and it's a great run for Sam Blacklock. He didn't have the best qualifying, but he'll start on the first row alongside Sebastian Flock, and that is all we're going to have time for because the revs are rising, and we're going to get going here for race 2 of the AOG Porsche Cup, and not the best start from Sam Blacklock. Oh yeah, maybe he did. I wasn't looking at him at the time, but unfortunately for Blacklock, he is probably about to lose it. No, he's managed to get the inside coming into turn 1, so he keeps the lead from Sebastian Flock. It's side by side between Bowler and Dance. That's a story we've seen before, but Bowler is going to have to yield, and oh my goodness, that's a big slow up there. Yeah, big checkup. It looks like maybe Blacklock and Flock came together side by side, potentially.
This is gonna be bad.
Oh, 2x2 on the way up to the chicane. It's a great run for Corey Shepherd. He's taken advantage of all of that to get up into second place. Fantastic stuff. But Sam Blacklock, he is starting to get very squirrely, and everyone getting held up behind him. He is the cork in the bottle, and on board from Bailey Fred. This is what the top 10 battle looks like. My goodness, what a fight this is.
Fred's got a great view of it, but he's lost out. He's been the big loser out of the lead group. He's dropped 4 spots from the lead. Started 6th, and now the disadvantage he's got, even with pace, he's got nowhere to go. As Kobe Williams sends it from a mile back and somehow pulls it up.
Goodness me. Williams. Big oversteer, though, on the way out of the toe of the boot. That's going to leave him open to an attack from Bo Albert on the outside. Let's see if Williams manages to pull it up. Goodness me. Well, Cooper Webster is falling down the field. He's still in 8th place at the moment, trying to fight to keep these positions. He's trying to make his way past Matthew Bowler. But, yeah, I feel like it looked like he did go a little bit earlier at the start than everyone else, but I'm not too sure if it was enough to get a jump start penalty. We'll have to wait and see if Webster brings it into the pit lane for a penalty. Looks like he has managed to complete lap 1, though.
Can confirm that there is a flag of some sort that has been given out, and that is to Hayden Vell. He's got a meatball flag, so not sure what's brought that on. You can tell he's got all sorts of damage. That's 2 races in a row he's had all sorts of damage to that front side of the car. As Cooper Webster gets on through past Blake Purdy, as Kobe Williams very, very slow out of turn 1, loses a couple of spots up the hill.
Yeah, Kobe would have gotten a slowdown, I think. He went very deep into turn 1 and went way into the runoff area. So he's had to give up that position to Nicholas Garriott. And oh, he's going to slow down in the straight. That's going to allow Wood and Van Treek alongside him and right by him as we check out what happened here on the first lap. Oh, yeah.
Just changed for the lead into the bus stop on this lap. So into the inner loop, Corey Shepherd goes through on Sebastian Flock. But yeah, we'll get a look at that incident there for Kobe Williams as well, because slowdown penalty at the start of the lap. Lap 2 is better to get it than lap 1, but yeah, just he's been a little bit out of control tonight, hasn't he? Been so aggressive, and it hasn't paid off for him. Often he's got this sort of aggression, but it actually works for him. In this race here, and the race previous, just hasn't quite flowed for him properly.
Yeah, that's a shame. Well, we'll have to wait and see if he can hold on, because he's actually fallen down a fair way. He's down in 18th now and trying his best to work his way past Javin Wood and Joshua Van Treek here. And all side by side with Van Treek, contact. They bang wheels and it happens again. Williams squeezing Van Treek a little bit. He's going to have to calm down slightly. It doesn't look like either car has come away with damage from that. So, your running order at the end of lap 2. It's Shepherd and Flock leading. Blacklock in 3rd place. Dylan Burse and Cooper Webster are battling for 5th place as things stand. So Webster, he's gotten off to a good recovery from his very messy lap 1 and still improving. Looks like he's in the draft of Dylan Burse as well, as we can see from the onboard. Does Burse go defensive? Oh, he forced Webster to take a little bit of avoiding action there, squeezing him on the exit. But they managed to keep it clean, only just, and we're going to another replay here. It's just all going off, isn't it, Jay?
Sure is. This is Steve Hosey, who's picked up a meatball for something that's happened here coming through turn 9. Now, I'm thinking there's an incident just ahead of him, which I'm right in thinking the 34 car having a moment there, Kyle Booth. And Hosey, talk about being an innocent victim.
He did everything right. He even went to take avoiding action. Unfortunately, Kyle spun right into his path. He's got Alex John up ahead of him. And, was Wood tapped around there? I'm not too sure.
He was. Try and get another look at that.
Yeah, we shall see. Oh, Kyle Booth, sorry, not Wood. Oh, dear. Sam Blacklock has spun around at this same corner, so we might have to stay on the replay. And, yeah, it just looked like a tank slapper there for Kyle Booth. But big dramas for Sam Blacklock. He has fallen down into 15th place after this upcoming incident. That looks like pretty heavy contact. Got Cooper Webster up behind him. Was this a botched overtake? We'll have to wait and see. Yeah, looks like it. Webster, he stuck his nose up the inside, but Blacklock was closing the door as that happened. So, race control, they certainly have a busy night here tonight, don't they, Jay?
Sure do. So Blacklock brings it in. He'll probably use this to come in and use this as his pit stop opportunity. It's Job Stewart trying to make a move there on Dylan Burse. Wasn't quite close enough, but definitely showed the nose just enough to put a little bit of pressure on. Ryan Jones also making moves, just gets past Tyson Broad.
Yeah, Ryan's not doing too badly here. Up 2 positions. And knocking on the door of a top 10 if he can keep things together and if there are issues for the cars up ahead. It is quite the battle here, though, with Bo Albert right in the midst of it. He's currently in 7th place. He's been making up bulk positions to try and get himself up to where he knows he should be, considering his performance in race 1 up until the contact with Job Stewart. And lining up a move now on Blake Purdy up the inside into the heel of the boot. Purdy will use the runoff area here just to maintain the momentum and keep himself on the inside. And Albert tapped wide as a result of that. He's going to lose 2 positions, at least potentially 3, if Bailey Frid gets alongside him. And Bo Albert, well, you see the darkness in his face. He is not happy with how this night has gone.
He had a shocking weekend of racing where he got taken out in every race in the...
oh, there we go.
In the PCO World Cup, and that's just gone even worse.
Yeah. Bo trying
this may be a safety car.
Yeah, potentially could be. We'll have to wait and see. It looked to me like Bo was, he was trying to take the exit of the final corner, but Bailey Frid was still there on his outside. And, well, I mean, Bo's expression said it all, really. I would not want to be in the same room with him right now.
10-second post-race penalty to Cooper Webster for his contact with with Sam Blacklock, sorry. So, post-race penalty incoming for 37 car. He will drop positions regardless. I can't see him getting a 10-second lead, so he has to push even harder now to try and gain and negate that disadvantage he's got post-race.
So, from hero to not quite 0 for Cooper Webster, but it's still something that he won't want to have on his record. It looks to me like both Frid and Albert have escaped off the track without further incidents, so we stay green for the time being. Here's Simon Mazzomo, meanwhile, trying to hold off 14th place from Javin Wood. These two in a battle of their own. as things stand. They got Nicholas Gariach, the AM-class winner of race 1, just up ahead of them. Have to wait and see if Mazomo will be able to draw any kind of pace out of that thing. Last lap for him was a 48.4. It was a 48.55 for Nicholas Gariach. So Mazomo, it seems, does have a slight advantage here, but he's going to have to work his way through a lot of cars if he wants to get up to Ryan Jones up ahead.
I remember Mazomo started way back in the field, already one of our biggest movers, equal tied biggest mover with Lachlan Boyle, both up 13 positions, Alex John up 12. So they're the biggest movers at the moment. That will change a little bit over the next little bit, because remember, we've got drivers that have pitted out of sequence due to incidents, getting spare cars, or just not having the best run in this race in comparison to race 1. Of course, we also have just seen, while we were watching back in the field, Cooper Webster has got through on Corey Shepherd for the lead of the race, and he's starting to drive away.
And it looks like Kobe Williams has managed to get up into 9th place as well. He just passed Ryan Jones on the back straight too. But Corey Shepherd doing quite well as things stand. Excellent performance from him tonight, considering all of the drama that has gone on. Blake Purdy right on the back of that battle too. Matt Bowler and Cameron Dance, they are still together on the track, and there is Ryan Jones with Kobe Williams now ahead of him. He's going to have to start holding off against Tyson Broad, is Ryan. Not only that, they got Sam Muir behind them too, looking to try and make moves, and Muir was showing some great pace at the end of race 1, so it'll be interesting to see what he can do here in race 2.
Now, don't forget, Muir won his class in race 1. This is the battle for the win in this class. So 10th, 11th, 12th on track is the battle for 1st, 2nd, 3rd in our Pro-Am division. It's a very intense battle between these three.
Incredibly so. And the battle for 10th overall. And it looks to me like Broad is starting to really pile on the pressure here. It's not going to translate into a move in turn 1, I think. He's too far back to get it done, but he'll definitely have the run down the back stretch. Jones firing it towards the inside of turn 1. Just trying to keep up the momentum here. Remember, he's going to get a bit of draft off the back of Kobe Williams as well.
Jacob Brewer into the pits. Now, just a complete separate side note. This race, as we said, 35 minutes or 20 laps, whichever comes first. At the moment, the pace, early on, the pace was a little bit slower than expected, and we were looking like it was only going to be a 19-lap race. At the moment, we are right on the edge of it being a 19 or 20-minute race, as 20-lap race. So the guys that pitted on lap 4, they may be a lap short on fuel.
Well, that's going to cause some drama, isn't it? As Jones
they may be
takes
okay.
the late
Depends on the
apex.
pace.
Yeah, well, they'll be hoping that the drivers up the front slow things down a little bit so they can make it a 19-lapper. But that will certainly be dramatic, seeing cars running out of fuel on the final lap. Certainly we're no strangers to that here at SimSpeed TV. That battle between Bowler and Dance ongoing. Cameron, I think, a little bit frustrated. He's just not able to find his way past.
Yeah, great. He's not looking as confident in the car as well, so he doesn't look too happy. I mean, he's got the lean going, which is always a good sign, but Bowler's doing a great job of holding that position, isn't he? He's just looking confident, smooth. And one thing I've noticed, I've been watching him over the last maybe 3 or 4 minutes, is he's not looking in the mirrors a huge amount. He's not too stressed about what Dance is doing behind. He's just looking forward, paying attention to what he's doing, knowing that if Dance tries to make a move, he's probably going to realise, because he's close enough, well before.
Safety car.
Oh, here we go.
We've got a safety car upside down. Jacob Brewer on the exit of the chute.
Hey.
Righto.
Don't have to worry about fuel now.
No, certainly not. And my goodness, that was pretty huge there for Brewer. Unfortunately lost it by himself coming through the carousel.
So he'd already had a moment before this one here, so we'll rewind in just a sec. I think his car's just so broken. Then a little bit of contact with the 9 of Steve Hosey. But that's just an unfortunate end to an incident. And this is the first part of it. Too much curb. Too much curb. Watch out for our cameraman. That didn't get him.
Just missed
fairly
him.
heavy damage.
Yeah, quite heavy. You got to be very careful across those curbs at the inner loop. You have to pretty much be straight as you hit them. Otherwise, the car's going to get majorly unsettled going sideways through the air, and everyone's struggling there to try and find their way past the upside-down Porsche in the middle of the racetrack. And just another note from race control. We're very sorry, Bo Albert, as the top runners all come into the lane. If there's any proper time to pit, it is now. But Bo Albert's night, I think, is going from bad to worse. He's been given a license point penalty for that contact with Bailey Frid at the exit of the final turn.
Yeah, so post-race license penalty, of course, already out of the race, so you can't give him a time penalty or anything for this race. As everyone comes in from the front. No surprise to see every single driver come in that hasn't already pitted. Those guys that pitted, the likes of Sam Blacklock, Tyson Hamner, they're back in the race. Which is good for them, but unfortunate for these guys at the front.
Indeed. It looks to me like Webster and Shepherd, they exit the pits in the same order. Job Stewart in
Long
third,
stop for
Purdy in
Dance.
fourth. Oh, yeah, that's very
Dance
long.
may have got a speeding in pit lane penalty. We saw him very aggressively close up that gap to Matt Bowler. I'm not surprised. I wouldn't be surprised, I should say, if Dance got a speeding in pit lane penalty. And I can see on the entries page that there is a black flag beside his name that says speeding in pit lane.
Oh, that is a huge shame for Cameron Dance. That is the worst thing that can possibly happen to someone going into the pit lane. You get on the brakes a little too late or have a slight lock-up, and if you're a certain amount over, you get slammed with a huge penalty. So Dance's stop ended up being 49 seconds long, and he's going to come back out in 21st place. Fortunately for Jacob Brewer, he is back in the lane now, but Kobe Williams, he's been stopped for quite some time, hasn't he?
That's an extremely long stop. I mean, even if he takes a full tank of fuel, that's too much. So I'm thinking he's got a speeding in pit lane penalty. He has. And I'm also seeing another penalty, which is for Dylan Burse. Now, I'm not sure what that would be for, but that is possibly speeding on pit exit or unsafe pit exit.
I've just taken a look at his pit exit. It seems to be okay. He did go slightly beyond the yellow line. And it doesn't look like anything untoward on the exit of the pits. So this might have been where it happened,
Yep,
potentially.
over the line.
Yep. Yeah, there we go. Over the line for him. And that's critical at Watkins Glen. You have to keep to the left of that yellow line. And unfortunately, you could see from his wheel work on the onboard, he quickly realized what was going on and tried to correct it, but too little too late.
So he will have to come back down the lane this lap to serve that penalty.
That's going to put him way down the order,
Yep.
like outside the top 20 at least.
The advantage he's got is he can serve it under this safety car because it is not an iRacing issued safety car, so the penalty can be served now. So he will, in a way, get away with that, but he will drop to the back of the line. It's going to hurt him big time. And from memory, this is a decent penalty as well. So from memory, I think it's a 40-second stop and hold.
God, and it looked like he might have already been dealing
Sped in the lane
with
there too.
Yeah, I think he might have already been dealing with a penalty from before, because you look at his pit stop time from before. Yep. It was in excess of 30 seconds as Cameron Dance is back in the lane. Might have gotten another penalty.
Very possible. Hayden Veld also, we saw him have issues early on. He has retired from the race. Unfortunate for him. So 2 retirements, which will turn into 3. Actually, no, good news. Jacob Brewer is back out on track. Everyone gets a spare car in this series, so back out on track he goes.
Hooray! They'll be able to at least get some points from that. Unfortunately, a lap down on everyone else.
Actually gone 2 laps down from the leader, unfortunately, but as you say, still a chance to get some points, and there's every possibility that that someone will end up having to retire from this race as well. So it's not the end of the world, and the fact that he can get back out there, get some practice in before we head to Sebring in 2 weeks' time.
Exactly right. And if we remember Bailey Frid, remember he was on the outside of Bo Albert at the final turn, and they had that big crash. Albert, one of our retirements from this race as well. But Bailey Frid, this safety car is actually a bit of a godsend for him, because he was able to get back into the pits, get a spare car, and he is still on the lead lap.
Yeah, the positive for him is it's lead lap still. Could have very easily ended up a lap, 2 laps down, or still stuck in the pits. So he's got a big positive out of it, chance to get some points for himself and for the team in the team's championship as well. Dylan Burse is back out there, 59-second stop. So I'm thinking he got the 40-second stop and hold, plus a few extra seconds for speeding in pit lane. And guess what? He's ended up with another black flag.
Oh, man. Dylan is just not catching a break here, is he? He might have to come back into the pits at the end of this and lose a huge chunk of time once more to everyone else. The pace car is pulling away, though, and Cooper Webster will assume control of the field. Remember, Cooper has a 10-second post-race penalty hanging over his head for contact with Sam Blacklock on lap 3. So he might be able to cross the line in first at the end of this race, but he will not be classified first. So when does he decide to go? Coming through the last couple of turns. We do have a restart zone in this series, so once they exit the final turn, Webster can go pretty much any time he likes. Corey Shepherd is going to have to be right on it here. You can see him there having a look. But it looks like Cooper Webster has gotten the start he needed, and Shepherd trying to go defensive, squeezing Job Stewart and Blake Purdy to the inside of the start-finish straight. And that's Job on by Corey Shepherd to take second place. Didn't quite nail the start, did the 718, and he might lose another position here because Blake Purdy is up the inside. That's the view from the back of Cooper Webster, and Shepherd and Purdy giving each other room. It is Pursuit Sim Racing 2 and 3 now, and Shepherd carrying that lack of momentum. Sebastian Flock is going to get by him potentially. No, lifts off on the way into the bus stop. One of the big winners out of that pit cycle was Ryan Jones. He is now up into 7th place. Fantastic stuff from him. Simon Mazzomo also working his way up through the field. He's up 18 from where he started. Oh, no.
That's Steve Black around. We've also got Steve Griffiths having a moment. So a couple of guys that had a horrible start, but how good's that from Mazzomo? Started this race back in position number 27. Currently in 9th. That's a really good drive, and he's still a legitimate chance to win the class.
Yeah, that's fantastic stuff there from the 551. Defensive, though, from Tyson Broad. Also having a peek at Ryan Jones up ahead, but nothing doing into the heel of the boot. Very close battling here in the top 10. Cooper Webster's going to try his best to skip away from everyone now, and he'll be hoping that he can finish 10 seconds ahead of everyone so that the penalty doesn't mean much. But Cameron Dance, I saw him carrying some front-end damage. Something has gone very wrong for him here.
Oh, 3 wide.
Oh, yeah. And there's only one way that's going to go.
Oh, it's going to get worse here. You can feel it. He's got Bailey Frid, Dylan Burse all ahead. And then there's contact.
Oh, that's huge.
Yeah, that's a big one. So Dylan Burse was involved in that. Matthew Kefford involved. 34 car of Kyle Booth. That was a biggie. Yeah, I don't think we need another look at that one. That was bad.
Kyle Booth has been a ping-pong ball tonight, hasn't he? He's been smacked around a fair bit. Hopefully his luck improves in future rounds. But that is the top 3 on screen at the moment. Cooper Webster, Job Stewart, Blake Purdy. Corey Shepherd is trying his best in 4th to try and get another run on Purdy, but it doesn't seem to be working so far. he's going to have to start thinking about Sebastian Flock and Matt Bowler behind him as well. These pursuit cars are an absolute force here in the top 10.
Before we focus on them, just a second on Cooper Webster. If the race was to finish right at this exact moment, he would finish 17th. It's 10 seconds separate the top 17 cars right now, so he needs to break away as much as he can to negate that 10-second time penalty as he can. So he needs to push away. Yeah, Corey Shepherd, he has been struggling just to make the car behave in a way that he's really comfortable with. He's got great speed, but he just can't seem to find the consistency to push on every single lap. So he needs to work on that, try and find a solution over the next 10 minutes. We were saying before it was supposed to be a 20-lap race, or looking like it was 19. It is now looking like only a 17-lap race.
Yeah, that safety car period has taken a lot of potential running time off of these drivers. As we check out the 27 of Tyson Broad trying to line up a move here on Ryan Jones. Let's see what the draft is like down the back stretch. Both of them going way beyond the curb of turn 1. That's okay. You may not necessarily get a slowdown from that. It's only if you go beyond the curb when the white line starts, I think, that you end up getting a slowdown. But that is a good run out of the S's here for Tyson Broad. He's not going to be close enough to Jones to make a move into the bus stop.
Dylan Burst back in the pits to serve that penalty that we said, the third one that he's received. But he's decided to park the car by the looks of things, as well as there's a nice little switchback from Tyson Broad. Thought about it, but in the same breath was never going to make that move, just hoping to force a mistake out of Ryan Jones. But Ryan Jones has been racing in this series and others for enough to know that that's not always going to be how it plays out.
Exactly right. Well, looks like he's lined up the exit pretty well from the toe of the boot as well. Jones, one of the very few privateers who are running in this field. No sponsors, no team on his car. Looks to me like poor Dylan Burse, he has got another penalty, this time from race control. It's a drive-through penalty for contact with Kyle Booth on lap 11. Yep, that's the contact up the hill. So Dylan is going to have to make another tour through pit lane.
I actually think he's decided to retire from the race, so the winner out of that then will be Jacob Brewer, who will gain another position.
Looks like if he keeps going the way he is, he might gain 2, because Kyle Booth has been in the lane now for close to 5 minutes. So there we go. He passes Kyle Booth, and he will get Dylan Burse in a couple of laps' time. But on board here with Lachlan Boyle, Sam Blacklock, of course, on a recovery drive after the contact earlier with Cooper Webster, but not able to make as much of an impression on the top 10 as he would have liked.
Going to change of position for the lead of the AM class while we flicked away. The one moment we flick away is the one time they actually make a move. That Ryan Jones has had to give up the position to a very, very good run from Tyson Broad. Around the outside, you don't see too many moves up the hill around the outside and getting it done before the bus stop chicane. But before the inner loop, through goes Tyson Broad, takes the lead away.
Excellent stuff there from Tyson, and if he can hold on to that, it'll be a well-earned class victory in Pro-Am. But they've got Simon Mazzomo up behind them as well. Mazzomo currently running 3rd in class and trying to line something up on Ryan Jones. These three absolutely glued together, but they are going to have to keep their eyes peeled for Muir behind. You can see him lurking in the background there in the rear of shot. Sam Muir, once again, he finds himself with a close battle ahead of him and the opportunity to gain bucket loads of time.
The other thing to that too is that Sam Blacklock, in his recovery for the second time, is started as well, or has started, I should say. Good English there. He's up to 11th after dropping back to around about 24th, 25th. So Blacklock just behind these guys as well, been making moves. He's not too far away from the back of Sam Muir, and if you can get past him, you'll be in the middle of this group as Ryan Jones now with the momentum is going to have to go the long way around, but he might be able to get it done as well.
We'll see if Tyson Broad defends this. They both go deep, and Jones goes too deep into the grass, and he's going to spin potentially into Mazomo, but Simon saw him coming, went off the track. Jones might have gotten a slowdown penalty from that. He's going to have to concede the position, and there is Muir and Blacklock just behind them on board with the Altus Esports driver. He squeezes up the inside of Sam Muir, and Jones manages to recover, but for how long? Blacklock looking quite aggressive here, back up into 10th place.
Back to where he finished race 1 as well, so finished race 1 in 10th after dropping all the way back to about 30th. Started on pole, dropped all the way back down to about 25th, and now back up into 10th once again, and almost getting himself up into 9th.
Yeah, with a bit of contact to boot, but he fortunately managed to keep the nose out of Ryan Jones's rear bumper. And it's very close battling just behind them as well. This 3-car pack, Nicholas Garriott still the leader of the AM class. Got Muir and Boyle behind him now. Muir losing another place after Blacklock went by him. So Nicholas in car 66 proving to be quite the difficult driver to surmount here in the AM class, as Muir tries to have a look up the inside of turn 1, doesn't quite get it done.
Saw at the front of the shot there too, Sam Blacklock through on Ryan Jones. It wasn't fought at all, so Ryan Jones knows where his battle is. His battle's with Mazomo, not with Blacklock. He can use Blacklock to his advantage, tuck him behind, use the draft, close that gap down to Mazomo, maybe be able to use that to be able to get past. A secondary group, Sam Muir stuck in the middle of 2 AM drivers. Remember that Muir won the Pro-Am class in race 1. So talk about a mixed up field in AM and Pro-Am. It's awesome to see that the competitive nature of these guys is continuing on. The pace is continuing on because it's brilliant as Jones nearly hits the wall. Great to see some great fighting throughout this AM and Pro-Am field.
Very close indeed, which is what we like to see. Unfortunate for Javin Wood. Unfortunately, he suffered a disconnection, so he is out of the race now. That could potentially be another position for him. Matthew Kefford back in pit lane. He's been stopped for over a minute, so Brewer is probably going to gain another 2 positions here at least before the race is out. 3.5 minutes to go as we check out Frid, Van Treek and Hosey in this 3-car fight. Alex John as well in the midst of it all. And of course, Alex John, he's had a couple of issues this race so far, involved in an incident in the S's, as that was Steve Hosey locking up on the way in, losing some time then to Alex John. It splits off into 2 battles of 2.
Blacklock's closed down the gap to Simon Mazomo, and Ryan Jones hasn't been able to hang on to the back. Remember, we saw he nearly scraped the wall coming out of the carousel in a previous lap. As Kobe Williams makes a move there on Jay Schultz. Grant Matterford just behind. Schultz 15th position at the moment. Doing a very nice job. 3rd in the AM class at this stage.
Kobe Williams has profited a little as well. He's up 1 position from where he started. Simon Mazomo, though, getting passed by Sam Blacklock. And unfortunately for Ryan Jones, he hasn't quite been able to use Sam Blacklock to get up to the back of Mazomo like he would have wanted. There is still a fair amount of margin between those 2 cars, and they were very close on pace when they were together. So remains to be seen whether or not Jones can round up Simon Mazomo, as he no doubt intends. But Tyson Broad now in front of Blacklock could slow him up a little.
Yep, and remember, Broad doesn't want to lose too much time because that is Mazomo for class position just in behind. Now, talking before about the gap Cooper Webster was trying to pull. Remember, top 10 was separated, or sorry, top 17 was 10 seconds. It is now only the top 6 separated by 10 seconds. So Cooper Webster, with 1 lap to go when he crosses the line, has now got himself in a big advantage in regards to making sure Yeah, doesn't lose out too bad. White flag flies. This is the last lap.
Well, to take nothing away from Cooper Webster, yes, it was a shame that the incident happened with this guy here, Sam Blacklock, trying to line up the move on Tyson Broad into turn 1, and Broad lifts off a little, lets him go. Now it's completely on for the Pro-Am class win. The top 3 now covered by about a second. But to take nothing away from Cooper Webster, it's been a stellar performance from him driving-wise, pace-wise, all night long. Now Broad here will try and use Sam Blacklock to stay ahead of Simon Mazzomo here. Got to take it easy though, coming into the bus stop. Get on the brakes a little earlier. That extra speed down the straight affects the way you enter. They are pushing so hard across these curbs. And Ryan Jones just behind, going wide on the entry into the carousel. Mazzomo unable to pick up the throttle. And Broad, all things considered, might just stay ahead here as Jones, he's locked up and he's run wide. It looks like he's lost touch there with the top 2. It's a big shame.
So there was a little moment for Lachlan Boyle through the chicane as well. He's lost a few positions, but this is technically going to be a win for Cooper Webster. Post-race time penalty. We'll see him shuffle down the order, but take nothing away from him. The pace that he's shown, the drive that he's had while he's been working his way back to the front has been really, really impressive. Shaping up very good for the weekend's Porsche Esports Super Cup.
Absolutely, some great practice here for Cooper Webster. He's gotten the track time in, and it is going to be 2 from 2 with an asterisk in the first round of the AOG Porsche Cup. Great run from Job Stewart. He's going to be classified as the winner of race 2 after that penalty, and it looks like Tyson Broad is just going to be able to hold off Simon Mazzomo for the Pro-Am win. They are separated by just a car length at the line. Fantastic stuff.
And Nicholas Garrioch will pick up the win in AM as well. So some great battles throughout the field, all the way to the checkered flag. Sam Muir lost the spot there to, didn't quite get the spot back on Garrioch at the end, but Cooper Webster first, and what will drop back to 6th in the end. Of course, started 10th with the reverse grid as well. So not too bad a night in regards to points hauls. Job Stewart, though, will lead the championship after round 1, you would think, with 2 seconds.
Indeed. A very good start off to this series for Pursuit Sim Racing in general, and got to give a shout out to Corey Shepherd as well for holding on there for 4th at the line. So these are your unofficial results. Remember, Cooper Webster will be demoted to 6th here, so the effective order is going to be Job Stewart, Blake Purdy, Corey Shepherd, Sebastian Flock, Matt Bowler, and then Cooper Webster. Sam Blacklock will come across the line in 7th, and of course it was Tyson Broad just defending the Pro-Am win from Simon Mazzomo by a 10th, and Ryan Jones holds on for an overall top 10.
We've got Nicholas Garrioch finishes 11th overall, but that is a win in the AM class. Sam Muir 4th in class, 12th overall. Kobe Williams, a night to forget for him. We're disappointed with how it's played out in the end for a 13th overall. Jay Schultz finishes 2nd in the AM class, finishes 14th with Grant Matterford, Steve Hosey, Joshua Van Treek, and Alex John all coming home 15th to 18th overall in our Pro-Am class as well. 3rd place in AM goes to Liam James, with Bailey Frid recovering after pit lane penalty. Come back to 20th overall.
Steve Griffiths is going to cross the line in 21st place. It's Lachlan Boyle coming across the line in 22nd, and there's going to be a post-race investigation there. Apparently there was contact between Boyle and Kobe Williams on the final lap of the race. Cameron Dance, it was a night of pit lane penalties and crashes in race 2. 23rd is what he's going to have to settle for. Tyson Hanmer also didn't have a great night, but he does gain from where he started. Steve Black is the last car to finish on the lead lap. Jacob Brewer, well, he comes home in 26th. It was very unfortunate for him on his roof, which brought out the safety car, but he was able to gain positions from drivers retiring ahead of him. Javen Wood, unfortunately, disconnecting. Matthew Kefford suffering issues. Dylan Burse, penalty after penalty after penalty in race 2. He ended up calling it quits 5 laps from the end. Zach Mitchell rounding out the top 30, and then it was Kyle Booth, Hayden Veld, and Bo Albert rounding out our field. All retirements for those guys, and Bo Albert will be absolutely fuming after that one lap that resulted in him taking heavy damage and, of course, a license points penalty. Goodness me, what a night it was to start off this new season. Simply magnificent racing from quite a few of our drivers out here tonight. We'll get a replay of that incident between Williams and Boyle, and we'll see how it panned out. Williams on the outside coming into the bus stop, and yeah, that's going to be interesting.
Have fun,
Not
race
too
control.
sure how to call that. Yeah, have fun indeed.
Another look from a different angle because it's probably a little bit hard to see exactly what went on there. This will probably give us a better view.
So Williams on the outside, it's all fair here. They don't bump until this point. It actually looks like, yeah, I'm not too sure. I mean, Williams was well alongside, so not too sure if that counts as a botched overtake, but at the same time, it's very difficult to give each other room at that stage of the circuit.
It's just not a spot that you go too wide ever, is it? So, yeah, that's one that we're glad that we're not in the race control booth for, because I don't know how I'd call that. I'll probably still be there in 3 hours' time and still not know how to call it.
Well, that's why race control is race control, and we're up here in the comms box. It is time, though, to go to driver interviews, and it looks like the first driver we'll talk to is Job Stewart. Congratulations on your results tonight, Job. Second in race 1, and the effective win in race 2 with that 10-second penalty for Cooper Webster. A great start to the season for you.
Yeah, it's pretty good to get 2 good results in both races there. Just a bit disappointing for Cooper. Would have been nice to get the win on track, but it's still a great result.
And just thinking back to race 1, it was also quite unfortunate, that contact between you and Bo Albert. It seems that that's the way it goes sometimes at the first round of a new season. Everyone just still trying to figure out how to race each other on track.
Yeah, it was a bit difficult there. I think he made a slight mistake, but yeah, it was completely my fault and just tapped the back of him. But yeah, it's a bit hard to learn the new cars, but after that first round, there's a bit more experience among all the drivers.
Indeed. Well, it's certainly a great start for you and for Pursuit Sim Racing as well. 2 cars on the podium in race 2. So you think you guys might have a proper tilt at the team's title?
Yeah, I reckon if we'll be available for the rain rounds, me and Blake will definitely have a crack and see what we can do in the team's title, and the rest of the other team as well. I think those guys did pretty good. There was a few inside the top 10, so off to a great start.
Well, before we let you go, Job, anyone you'd like to thank? Who gets it done for you?
Yeah, just thanks to Pursuit Sim Racing and all their sponsors, V&M, Track Racer and Bowler Media. Thanks.
Job Stewart there, coming home with the effective win in race 2. Next driver we're going to have a chat to is Blake Purdy, also of Pursuit Sim Racing. Awesome result for you as well, Blake. Top 5s in both races and a podium to boot.
Yeah, it actually went a lot better than I expected. Yeah, just carving through the field in the feature was actually a lot, it was actually heaps fun. I couldn't believe how much of a train there was on the first lap going down to into the bus stop. So I was like really backed up, and there was just cars with 3 wide and stuff. But yeah, that was heaps fun. I was sure to come back and do the next rounds, that's for sure.
Yeah, certainly. We do hope so as well. I asked Job Stewart about the result for Pursuit tonight. What are your views on it? It seems like it's a great start to the season for the whole crew.
Yeah, I just entered last night, and they're the ones that got me onto it, so I quickly signed up last night and jumped in today. But yeah, it was a really good result for the entire team because we were all up the front, I think. I don't know how many PSR cars there were, but it was a fair few on the side top 10. But yeah, that's really positive. So.
Definitely is. Well, who got it done for you tonight, Blake?
Just the boys that I usually talk to. We were just in Discord, and me, Job, John Crusoe, and that Cooper as well. But yeah, we're just having a bit of fun. But yeah, it was really good doing with them and working out fuel and stuff. But yeah, thanks.
Good stuff there from Blake Purdy. Third of all is going to be Corey Shepherd. And, well, race 1 didn't quite go your way, Corey, with some incredibly close battling. But 4th place and threatening for the lead in race 2. Good start to the season for you.
Hey guys, yeah, super happy with how we've gone tonight. Yeah, we had a fun race 1, a lot of good battling and a good race for all the guys. But yeah, super happy with how we went in race 2. Able to get out in front early on, and obviously we weren't able to keep that lead, but it was cool to be out in the front for one of my first Porsche races.
Well, hopefully your second Porsche race will come at Sebring, which is a track that I know you have format in the V8. What are your thoughts on that round in 2 weeks' time?
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to Sebring. Yeah, like you said, I feel like I go pretty well there. So yeah, definitely really looking forward to it in the Porsche.
Well, is there anyone that you'd like to thank from Premier Racing Team before we let you go?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank everyone in the team and the team supporters for Racecraft. I'd also like to thank Brian for spotting for me tonight, and my mum and dad. And obviously a big thanks to you guys for the broadcast.
Great stuff there from the 718 Corey Shepherd. Second last of our interviewees tonight. It's the Pro-Am winner of race 2. It's going to be Tyson Broad joining us. Congratulations, Tyson. You certainly had to work for it.
Yeah, that was certainly not easy. Just putting on the pressure from Ryan and Simon for pretty much the entire race. And yeah, I think the safety car definitely helped me there. With strategy and that, and yeah, happy to walk away with the W in Pro-Am.
As you should be. Well, trying to race in the quote-unquote lower class with these pro-class cars trying to work their way around you, it must be difficult trying to balance those two things in your mind, trying to fight with the guys in your class while also battling with other class cars for position.
Not really. I just treat everyone the same. Just don't worry about which class they're in and just drive. But yeah, Sam didn't really pass me in a great spot on the final lap because that allowed Simon and that to close up heading into the long run for the bus stop. But managed to use him to not get past.
And it worked out well for you in the end. Well, hopefully we get another chance to talk to you next round at Sebring. Tyson, anyone you'd like to thank?
Just my esports for yeah, all the help they provide me, and yeah, the series organisers.
Well, a great result for Tyson Broad as well. And finally, to bring home the AM victory, Nicholas Garriich. Welcome, Nicholas, and fantastic result for you, certainly taking the fight to everyone else in your class.
Oh yeah, it was definitely a bit unexpected. On first race in the Porsche for the series, and the result definitely was above my expectations.
Do you think you'll be able to carry that momentum through into next round at Sebring? What are your thoughts on that track?
I really hope so. Sebring, I love Sebring as track. Definitely like it better than Watkins. So hopefully, yeah, to bring home the same sort of success, and see how we go.
Is there anyone you'd like to thank for helping you get it done tonight?
Just Geary Booth Motorsports. Yeah, they do. All our sponsors do a really good job, especially ZTech Engineering and Miley Constructions.
Well, thanks very much for joining us, Nicholas Garriich, AM winner tonight. Fantastic stuff from all those drivers. Well, Jay, I think that was a pretty successful start to the 6th season of the AOG Porsche Cup, but we do head to Florida for round 2 on the 15th of February. That's going to be interesting. Very bumpy circuit at Sebring will play havoc with these cars.
Yeah, complete polar opposite circuit, isn't it? You've got the fairly smooth and brand new Watkins Glen with huge straights and very, very fast flowing corners. A little bit more stop-start at Sebring, but the bumps are just so extreme in comparison, which is going to make it very, very interesting. Setups are going to be tough for the guys because they're going to be so different in regards to suspension settings. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be very, very fun. Bring on 2 weeks' time.
Indeed. Well, that's going to be the conclusion of our broadcast tonight here from Watkins Glen. Of course, 2 weeks' time we race at Sebring, but the fun doesn't stop at SimSpeed TV. We've got Southern Cross Esports Summer Series tomorrow night, and I'll be joining you for that along with Jay once again. And wow, we have got a huge week here at SimSpeed TV. Many broadcasts this week, culminating in the Majors Series on Saturday, and then the Oceanic Sim Racing Bathurst 12-hour presented by Logitech G on Sunday. That's going to be a fantastic weekend. We hope that you'll be able to join us for that. If you'd like notifications on when these broadcasts are happening, make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube and hit the bell so that you're notified whenever our next broadcast goes up. I'm Reese Gardner. It's Jay Kennedy alongside me and directing behind the scenes. Thanks very much for watching. We will see you next time.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up the
Oh my god! Oh! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get involved!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no! That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my god.
God, what?